Why did the Six-Day War end so quickly? All right, the Six-Day War ended quickly to avoid superpowers involvement. The superpowers were the United States, the Soviet Union, Britain, and France. All right, so in the beginning of the Six-Day War, there was an agreement that the superpowers, well, which is the UN, the United Nations, and the Soviet Union, right? They kind of mm, stand aside and they allow the Middle East to settle their differences, right? And they would only intervene if 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 one side will say attempts to do 100% extinction of all the civilians and things like that, right? Because you can't just stand to the side and just watch millions and millions and millions get murdered, because then they say, hey, you were supposed to be there and ensure that you had things kind of controlled, even though it's warfare, so kind of everything is kind of like chaotic. But these are kind of like agreements that everyone agreed on, right? So here we have the superpowers, right? During on our last video here, right, we left off on June 10th, right? And this is basically when Israel took over Golan Heights. They had control over the Sinai and the West Bank. Okay, right? Now, the Israelis were backed up by the UN, the United Nations, okay? The United Nations consists of the United States, Britain, and France, all right? All supervisors of this war going on, right? And then on the other hand, you had Syria, Jordan, Egypt, all the Arabic movements, nations getting supported by the Soviet Union, right? So as the Arabs, okay, because Israeli was winning the Six-Day War and they did win eventually, right? They did gain some territory there. The Soviet Union kind of saw that the war was going to start dragging on, and maybe the Israelis would kind of go in for more territory, right? So the Soviet Union immediately says, okay, we're going to intervene because Syria, Jordan, Egypt, they were kind of losing the war. So now you have the Soviet Union saying, hey, we're going to intervene now. And then now you have the United States on the other end, like Israel, telling Israel, please wrap this war up and make it quick, because we're about to start another war, or another world war. And that's kind of why the Six-Day War ended quickly, because superpowers kind of put a check on it. All right. Once again, the Six-Day War ended quickly to avoid superpowers involvement. The superpowers were the United States, Britain, and France on the United Nations side, and on the opposing side, on the Arabic side, or the Pan-Arab movement side, the Soviet Union. Right. We're still trying to discuss here decolonization. We're integrating decolonization, broken, we'll say broken structures, how one agreement may discomfort another agreement, and how people kind of like contradict or feel betrayed when those agreements aren't fulfilled. We're also, of course, foreign policy. That's kind of where we're heading here.